Welcome to the wild world of the diagnostic laboratory industry, where we focus on science, compliance, sales marketing, and self-mastery. Welcome to Lab Results with Blake. I'm your host, Blake Bork. You know, one of my favorite things to do is this podcast. I love it. I hate listening to them. I do, but I like actually staring in the camera and talking to people that I know are going to need to hear this. What's crazy about it, though, is it's something that I love to do, but it's something that I have been inconsistent in doing every day like I want to. I'll do 3 or 4 days in a row, and then the weekend comes, and I'll do 3 or 4 days in a row, and then the weekend comes, and then something pops up, like I travel. So let's talk about what happened in Coach Blake's life the last couple of weeks. It's been busy. One of the biggest things that has happened to me in the last 100 days or so is I got back involved with Wake Up Warrior. And any of you men out there, married men, who have had the same types of life that I've had, where, my childhood, my parents loved me, but I had some things that happened in my childhood that was outside of their control, that left some trauma on me, introduced me to some very advanced adult type situations way too early, and that left a mark on my personality. I had some trauma with my marriage, my wife and I losing twin girls. I had some unprocessed grief, and that caused me to get into a spot where I was constantly chasing my purpose, not knowing what it was, just knowing that I didn't believe God put me and Jenny through that for no reason. So anything that came along that looked like it was purpose driven, I jumped on it and I gave it all my passion, and it became my addiction. Right. And also inside of that, I ended up developing a real addiction to opiates. And then I ended up developing a real addiction to alcohol. And so overcoming real addiction, money addiction, work addiction, passion addiction, I'm a professional addict, and I've really gotten close to the fire in a lot of instances and been able to overcome it. I don't hide from that because it's part of my story and it's real. And there's a lot of people out there who may hear that message and listen to this podcast in the future. And if you are one of those people, brother, I'm telling you right now, you may be in the dark, but you're so close to the light. You're so close to the light. There's a decision that needs to be made. That's it. It's a desire to be sober, or it's a desire to quit whatever pattern is holding you back. I found Wake Up Warrior, or I should say Wake Up Warrior found me. And from 2017 to deep into 2020, that was my lifestyle, and I loved every minute of it. I became a certified trainer, and I lived it, and I stacked, and I was part of the groups, and I traveled with them. And then COVID happened, and I wasn't jiving with the message from the top anymore. I thought I was better than it, and so I went and did my own thing. I went and also studied under Mark Divine in his Unbeatable Mind Academy. I did a couple of events with the Navy SEALs, with some Navy SEALs. I did a real event where we hosted one and put some people through it. Had a blast learning the 5 mountains and the big 3 of mental toughness, and it made a lasting imprint on me. But ultimately, I went back to Coach Sam Falsafi at Warrior, and it has been a complete game changer for me. So 2 weeks ago, I went to California, and we did a gathering with the men of Warrior Week 73. Love you guys. And it was a big deal because I got baptized on the beach, the same beach that Coach Sam Falsafi in 2017, he baptized me with fire, I say, because he power bombed me in the water because my leadership skills sucked so much that day, and I deserved it. In 2023, baptized me for real in water and in the Spirit. And every day since then, I've woken up and I've read the gospel, and I did a 2-minute drop about something Bible related to my circle, my group of men that's in my accountability group. It was amazing spending time with those men. And what I want for anybody who's out there listening to this, if you don't have a group of people who have a vested interest in, that's not the right way to say it. The men that are in that circle do not have a vested interest in my business. I do not pay them. They do not pay me. We pay money to be in a place where the only thing that happens is people tell the truth, where we have coaches that are above reproach and have high integrity. And we're able to throw our business problems, our marriage problems, our grief problems, our anger problems, our porn problems, our addiction problems. We're able to put all those problems on the table. And everybody in that room, the men on that call, the only thing that they care about is that we're centered with Christ, and that we are telling the truth, and we're working through these problems and the facts in them and not the stories that can control our behaviors, that we're not a victim of the story. And so it's an amazing room to be a part of, and it's an amazing group to be a part of. And if you're a woman out there and you have a husband who you think would be a good fit, DM me, and I'll see if I'll talk to the man, and if the man's a good fit, I'll make a recommendation that he talks to Coach Sam Falsafic, because there's only one man who puts people in Warrior Week. Later in that same week, I basically did a California 3-day trip, landed in Louisiana for one night, and I did a Florida 4-day trip. It was like polar opposites. I went from a group of men who only tell the truth to a group of men and women who are just lying to each other. It was a marketing conference where we were learning about ChatGPT and AI. And look, it is what it is. It's that game. People are pretending, they're posturing. I thought I was there to learn AI. I figured out I was there as part of another person's funnel, so that way they can sell a high ticket offer to a whole bunch of people who also thought that they were there for AI. I've been in those situations before. I'm not throwing any kind of haterade on my man, because I do respect the guy who put the program on, and that's his hustle. That's what he does. Ultimately, what he does works for him. I just fell into the wrong list. I shouldn't have been there. But that's okay. It was a good experience for me to go and see somebody else put on a seminar. It made me also feel like the what, why, lesson, apply. What happened? I'm in a room for 4 days and realized that I should be teaching the room. Now, that could be a story. That could be my ego just wanting to be on stage and wanting to be in control. But I found myself being able to actually tap into this place where it's like I've been playing small. I haven't been doing enough to put rooms of people together to teach them what I've learned and show them what works. And I saw this man who invited us to out there, him do that in a very skilled way. And it made me want to do it too. So that's the gift. Even though I might have not been the smartest guy in the room, I might have not been the dumbest guy in the room, but I know I was in the right room. And that's important, is to put yourself in the right room. So even though it was polar opposites on complete opposite ends of the country, I was able to have massive learning opportunities in both situations. But along the way, I got some bad news. My grandmother needs to have open heart surgery. In fact, today, on the day of this taping, she had a triple bypass, and she is in recovery. And now we're praying for her recovery. My mama is not what you would say a good patient. She's got an extensive health history, but she's a strong woman. And she's got a husband that loves her, and she's got 4 daughters that are amazing ladies in themselves. There's a lot of strong women in my family. Amazing women, men of character that love their children and protect and have always worked and been earners and career ladies. And my grandmother's an amazing person. She's one of the smartest women that I've ever been around, and she had so much class for being from Louisiana and from Cajun country. She sounded like a Southern belle from New York. It's really amazing how she was able to pull off, and she was always in fashion. So I love my mama, absolutely. But that thing, my grandmother, and praying for her daily, and it's stamped out my creative wants and desires. I was so afraid to get back and do the podcast while that was going on, because it's been in the back of my mind. It made me think, how many employees have I had in my lab life, in my oil and gas safety life, in my banking life, that have this massive personal issue going on in their life, and they still got to do their job, but they're just there, just spinning their wheels, afraid to do it. Like, I've been needing to do a podcast episode for 2 weeks. Last Friday, I did a joint one. I don't know if it's going to come out before this one or after this one, with Dr. Amanda Natalizio, who is an amazing PhD. But after Thanksgiving, I guess I got all loved up from the family, and I was like, okay, I can do it. But it really has been one of those things where I wake up in the morning and the only thing I think about is my grandmother dying. And it's kind of held me hostage. So hearing today that, the surgery went as planned and that she's in recovery, it was this big giant release. And then the only thing I wanted to do was turn on the camera and talk about it. So there are people that work for you. There are people who are in your lab that have some serious things that are going on inside of their work life, inside of their home life, that's impacting their work life. And oftentimes, if you see a competent person struggling, instead of chastising them or thinking that they're doing wrong, or even writing them up or bringing them into PIP, it really could just be a conversation about what's actually going on that's holding them back, and opening up a space where you can just have an honest conversation with them. And I don't know what happened inside of corporate America and the fear of HR, that we can't have an honest conversation, human to human, that so many bosses are afraid to have a genuine, connected conversation with their employees, and not be able to express even feelings that somebody's going through something like I was going through. So I hope, one, if you're struggling with addiction, or if you are, because we cover a lot of ground on this podcast, if you're an addict, reach out for help. If you're married to one, reach out for help. If you've got a man that you think needs to be surrounded by other powerful men who are all focused on growing power inside of their body, growing their connection with their Lord and their Savior, dedicating love and time and energy and connection with their family, and then making a whole bunch of money and crushing business targets, I got the group for you. If you are interested in AI or ChatGPT, or modern marketing, I got the group for you, because actually that group does a really good job with people who know very little. The problem with me in that group right now is that I think I know too much. And so I either need to humble myself and just do the work, or I need to move on. Either way, I'm glad I found the group, and now I'm glad that I'm moving on and moving forward. And then if you're suffering from grief, or if you're a person that has some problems at home that are coming into their work life, realize, man, there's some outlets. There's people that you can talk to. There are processes for you to get that grief, the gift inside of it. And that sucks, man, because I never knew what it meant to give it up to God. And when people would say that, it used to trigger me. They'd raise their hand and say, "Oh, you just got to give it up to God." Like I got triggered. I just triggered by that. I was like, man, because I didn't know who God was. I didn't have a relationship with God. And so for the idea that I would be giving something to a stranger, didn't make any sense to me. Then I started talking to him, and I felt like he was listening back. Then I started having a relationship with him. And now it's like, no. I don't control anything. And I don't control the results inside of my life. I'm a results-based coach. I don't control the results in my life. I control the work that I do. I control the discipline that I have over my flesh. I can control my thoughts, and I can control my feelings, and I can feel all of my feelings and never be bad because of it. I can have a feeling and not automatically put myself as a Viking or a victim, because that feeling is there for a reason. And so I need to feel the feelings that I need to feel, so that way I'll do the things that I need to do. And so all of these things make for better salespeople. Searching leadership groups, searching forward-thinking technology groups, learning how to deal with personal trauma. And even though I feel guilty that I didn't do my podcast in the last 2 weeks, I'm doing it right now. And I forgot I did one on Friday. So really, it was only 1 week. So we're hard on ourselves even when we're looking in our rearview mirror about what we didn't do. I took a week off. Sorry. Blake, give yourself some grace. All right, guys. Look, if you like the podcast, share the podcast. We'd love to hear comments about what you're thinking, things that you want to hear about. Also, if you know somebody who you want to have on the podcast, I love interviewing folks. Normally what I do is they end up coming on because I know them or I've had a personal relationship with them. I've worked with them. I've serviced them or they've serviced me in some type of a vendor relationship. And so looking for people who you think would be great to have on the show. Most importantly, I hope you're getting something out of this, guys, because I enjoy doing it and I'm not going to stop. So my job, I'm realizing more and more, is to be an agent of revelation. It is to help people see the greatness that I see inside of them and then have them pull it out. You guys be great. It's contagious. You've been listening to Lab Results with Blake, with your host, Blake Bork. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Remember, greatness is contagious.